Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with us. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. We love your comments on what we're talking about with your Buffalo Bills. We love you being part of what we're doing here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. So make sure you do those things and we'll continue to provide content for you for this Bills 2021 season, a season I think there's high expectations and there should be. Every team, you'll hear them all coming into these games to start the season, talk about their goal to win the Super Bowl. And that's true. Sort of. Yeah, there's 32 teams. I think 20 of them legitimately have no shot to win the Super Bowl, but they can make the playoffs. Maybe that ends up being their ultimate goal, or they have a winning season. Not with this Bills team. The goal is to win it all. They were in the championship game last year. They're good enough. People are picking them to do it. But there's things that have to happen in order for them to get a championship. And I'm going to go over those 5 things that I want to talk about that I believe this team needs in order to go from where they were, which was good, to being great, and from great to being a champion. And that's the transition from this year. I'm going to begin with a mindset. Sean McDermott, big on that. Every year doing something. This one's on Sean McDermott, and he showed a lot of that last year, which was progress for his normal way, the way he grew up coaching in this league. But I'm talking about aggressive play calling and situational football. And look, it comes down to analytics a lot, and you'll see those numbers constantly being pushed about when a team should go for it for a first down, when they should go for the touchdown and not the field goal. And all those things are true. But there is a bit of a feel that goes with those analytics for coaches. It's not strictly by the numbers, nor should it be. If you have a quarterback and an offense that you trust, you're going to be much more willing when it's close to go with the numbers. And I know a lot of analytics people maybe don't want to hear that. They'll say, keep playing the numbers and eventually it's going to work out for you. And I think that's the case. But I think the Bills are in a position to be more aggressive, to always feel that way, because of the guy they have at the quarterback and the offense that they have. You are constantly putting pressure on the opponent. Use that. The opponent is thrilled when you're sending out the field goal team. They're thrilled when you're deciding to punt the ball, because we know Josh Allen and this offense can convert from anywhere at any time. 3rd and long, heck, in his first drive in the preseason, he hit on a touchdown on a 3rd and 20. I know that's not a decision. You're throwing the ball on 3rd and 20. But we know he has the ability to do that at any moment. Do it with his legs, do it with his arm. Use that. These are the rare times when you've got a young, healthy, dynamic quarterback and defenses are afraid of you. They're worried about all your multiple weapons. Stay aggressive. The Bills have a great kicker. At least last year for a rookie, Tyler Bass was outstanding. He can hit from long range. It's nice to be able to knock those through. And look, there are times you're facing a 3rd and 8 at the 32-yard line. Kick the 50-yard field goal, or 4th and 8. It makes sense, right? The numbers would say it makes sense. But there are other times when I believe when you've got that chance, go for it and move the ball accordingly. And I think Sean McDermott's going to be that way. I think it's a big thing for him to have adjusted. And I don't think he plays field position anymore, and that has to stay. Just think of that mindset of constantly putting pressure on the other team, where them sitting back going, they're going to go for it. Now, I'm not talking about reckless. Sean McDermott is not reckless. In no way is he reckless. Doesn't coach that way, doesn't think that way. But I'm talking about aggressive. You know what it is. You can feel it when your team plays that way. And I think we're going to see more out of that from Sean McDermott this year because of the faith that he has in his quarterback, in his offensive coordinator, in his offense in total. And even though he's a defensive guy to begin with, what's your best defense? When your offense is putting points on the board, big points. There are times to take the field goal. We'll all agree to that. But I think that mindset is going to really help this team going forward. Second thing's on the defensive side. It's been talked about nonstop. It should be talked about. It's a glaring need for this team, and we're talking about an impactful pass rush. They've spent the resources on it, right? You go back to Ed Oliver and then A.J. Epinesa, and now this year with Greg Rousseau and Boogie Basham, we'll figure out what his role is early in the year. But we're talking about getting to the quarterback, and I'm not talking about numbers. I'm not saying you have to have 50, 55 sacks. I mean, it's great to get sacks, but sometimes even those numbers can be misleading. You might have a game where you get 6 or 7 or 8 sacks. Well, that's great. You need pressure, and you need pressure on the quarterbacks that you know that can get to you. and you need to help your defense, and you need to put teams behind the sticks. Bills are going to have the lead in a lot of games. I mean, I'm not telling you something you don't already know. This team can score, and this team can put up big points, and they can force teams to throw. You need to be able to bury teams when you have that. Or in other circumstances, when you're playing at Tampa against Tom Brady, when you're playing at Kansas City, when you're on the road, even in Miami or New England in those division games, right? You want to put pressure on those quarterbacks. Do it with your front line, especially if you can do that. Something on a consistent basis. Not always taking the quarterback to the ground, while that's great, but chasing him out of the pocket and not letting him make a play where you have that consistent pass rush. Sean McDermott knows it. Brandon Beane knows it, right? Leslie Frazier knows it. They all knows it. They all know that they need this. And we know how impactful it can be. Josh Allen was running around for his life in the AFC Championship game. He was. And as great of an athlete as he is, and as great as he is at making plays, you do that to a quarterback nonstop, you're going to stop an offense. Obviously, we saw it in the Super Bowl. You know, Tampa and Tom Brady are an exception to a lot of the things we will talk about, but one of them is Tom Brady isn't winning the Super Bowl without that pass rush from his defense. They showed it in the championship game, and they showed it in the Super Bowl, and they ended up winning it all. So pass rush is important. I think from day one, it has been a focus of this team for the last few off seasons, knowing that they need more. Think about what they've done. All those resources, and they've kept the older players, which is Addison and Hughes, on the outside. They kept, 11 defensive linemen. They've got Star Latulele back on the inside to help Ed Oliver. They've put all those pieces together. They need to see results, big results out of this defensive line. When you've put the draft picks and you've put the financial incentives in there in terms of paying players and keeping those veterans, you want to see the results. I think the Bills feel pretty good about their linebackers and their secondary. They certainly have the safeties and Trey White and Levi Wallace holding on to his job and what they can do there. You need the pass rush, right? You do it. They weren't great at stopping the run, and they'll need to be able to do that. But this is the 2020 NFL. Teams are going to throw the ball, and you need to be able to get to the quarterback. The third thing is goal number one for Sean McDermott. You've heard it. You'll hear it from the players this week, but it's massive. You got to win the division. They've got to win the AFC East. I mean, last year they went 6-0. You know, you win the division. You're in the playoffs. You've got a home game. It's all those things. It was New England's goal every time. And they would do it. They would dominate the AFC East and get to the playoffs and know that they were going to be there with a home game or two, or, well, it wouldn't be 3 if you win the division, but to get to the Super Bowl. And I think, no, I take that back. You can win now because you could be the 2 seed like the Bills were. So you could conceivably have 3 home playoff games if you didn't get the bye. So winning the division. 6-0 is tough. If I told you right now you're going to go 5-1 and win the AFC East, you'd take it. Right? Because it's a great record and you win the division. 6-0, well, is obviously what they'd love to do. But New England's going to be better. Let's just accept that. I don't know how good Mac Jones is going to be. He's already been propped way up here, and he's talented, but he's a rookie. But New England's defense is going to be better. They're going to run the ball. I think they have a quarterback who can at least execute more of what Belichick and McDaniels want. So I think they'll be better because that wasn't a very good football team, and they gave the Bills fits in one game, and they blew them out in the other. But it was tough winning that first game in Orchard Park. They needed that Justin Zimmer play to seal it with the Cam fumble. So there's New England. The Jets will be better because they were so poorly coached, such a bad offense, yet they still gave the Bills a hard time. You know, the first game was relatively close, and the second game was a field goal battle, and the Bills beat them. It's a different team this year with a new, enthusiastic coaching staff. I mean, yes, they have their rookie quarterback. I don't know how he's going to be, but Sam Darnold was lost in whatever they were trying to do last year. I just think that team could be better because they were so bad last year. The Dolphins are the true wild card, whether we're talking about the division, whether we're talking about the conference, Megan as wild card, or just the wild card team. I don't know about Tua. The Dolphins don't know about Tua. But I do know that team has accumulated some pretty good talent. The thing is, the Bills have dominated them, and Josh Allen has dominated them. So if they can continue that, obviously that would be great. We don't know what the Dolphins are going to be like. That first game, Dolphins-Patriots, going to be pretty interesting. But again, we're talking about winning the division. Are the Bills the best team? Yes. Do they have the best quarterback? Yes. Should they win it? Yes. But that's got to be the goal in order to do that. Get that division. Shoot for the number 1 seed, right? It's not 1 and 2 anymore. In order, as we saw last year, to get the home field advantage throughout. It's only the 1 seed. It's great to be able to sit home and then have 2 games at Highmark Stadium. Wouldn't that be something for this year? Obviously, those are goals too, secondary goals to, getting that first one, which is winning the division. But yeah, home field in those playoff games is massive. And it would be great now that just the number 1 seed. Look, I say Tampa's the exception to everything. They won 3 road games. They did it in the NFC. The NFC was not a great conference, and they beat a bad Washington team, certainly without quarterback play last year. They won somehow in New Orleans with a Saints team that just always seems to find a way to fail in those big moments. And I don't know what Green Bay was doing, but Brady threw 3 picks in the second half of that game. And LaFleur was not aggressive, as we all know. He kicked the field goal late, and that team lost. But give Tampa credit, they won it that way. They weren't going to do that in the AFC. There's too many good teams, too many minefields to go through if you don't have home field advantage. So win the division, try to get the 1 seed, obviously would be huge. This sounds somewhat simplistic, but my 4th thing is good fortune, right? A little bit of luck. Every team needs it. You just do. I mean, I'll go to Kansas City last year. Now, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they got there. But look at that Cleveland game, right? Mahomes gets nicked up in that game. He's got to come out of the game. Sure. They got good enough play out of the backup. But you remember the play with Cleveland where guys going in the end zone, fumbles through the back of the end zone, and they get the ball back? Like, those kind of things need to happen at times. You need some good fortune. There's many ways that can play itself out. Staying healthy. This team has done a really good job of that. Look how healthy the Bills were last year from start to finish. I mean, it was only a few guys not playing at the end. A guy like Zach Moss was out, but for the most part, the Bills had everybody, and they found ways, to stay that way really the last 2 years. Obviously, you need that, right? The COVID situation comes into play. The vaccination rate on this team, I know you get wound up when we talk about it. It's a real thing. And the way it impacts a team, and the Cowboys have already seen that for the first game coming up on Thursday. So it impacts a team. You need good fortune in that way. Those odds would go up if there was more vaccinations, but this is the way this team is. So they have to live with that and hope that things go well in terms of COVID. And then, like I said, good fortune. Look, they lost that Arizona game. Right? Was it a great play? Sure. Was it a little lucky? Sure. They lose that game. That game didn't end their season, right? It did not end their season. But those, because obviously the Bills went on to win the division and go into the playoffs. But those kind of things can happen during a year. Those things happen in the playoffs, and you're out. So you can talk all you want about a lot of things going your way and it being good, but you do, on occasion, need, and I'll say, look, things going your way. Every Super Bowl champion has had that. They really do. Maybe it's a call going your way. Whatever it is, you need to overcome some stuff, but sometimes it's just the right break at the right time. And when the team gets that, you look back and you say, wow, what a moment that was. If that did not happen, this team doesn't win the Super Bowl. And these teams have it. So, combine a few things like health, like COVID, and some good fortune, and you can win. And the last one is the most important one, and it's kind of obvious, but Josh Allen's got to be Josh Allen. Think about where we were a year ago, waiting to see how he would perform. We didn't see any preseason. We didn't see anything from him. It was a weird year. He was coming off that bad second half performance in the Houston playoff game. And, Josh Allen came out, 300-yard game to start, and he never stopped. I mean, he was phenomenal last year. So he's got to be that guy. I mean, obviously he's got to stay on the field. I mean, we know he needs that, right? Because when you look at it, you say Mitch Trubisky is a big upgrade over Matt Barkley, But Mitch Trubisky is not the guy winning the Super Bowl for you. Could he win a game? Yeah. Could he win a couple games? Sure. All those things can happen. But you need Josh Allen to be playing and to be playing like Josh Allen. He's put the bar way up here. We keep saying that, raising the bar, raising the bar. It's what Josh Allen has done. But we're talking about a guy being that player now, where when the Bills take the field, they have the better quarterback. We've talked about this a lot. For 20 years, you can make arguments like, yeah, Fitz is better than Tannehill. Well, that's great. I'm talking about where when you take the field, everybody in the building knows you have the better quarterback. I think the Bills will take the field out of the 17 games, 14 times, 15 times, and even the other times, even when he's going up against Brady or Mahomes, you're right there with him. The division, Josh is the better guy. Like, Josh Allen has to be that guy. He's now that guy. You expect that out of Mahomes. People expect that out of Brady. That's the way it's been. And that's pressure on Josh Allen. He's the guy that got paid, but he has to be that guy for this team. He's got to stay on the field. He's got to continue to put massive pressure on defenses, and he's got to come through in the playoffs. Look at Josh Allen's history in the playoffs. Great first half, bad second half against Houston. They lose that game. Fine. That's his first opportunity. I thought he played really well against the Colts. I thought he was very mediocre against Baltimore, and the defense came through, making big plays, and they won that game. And he, like the rest of the team, wasn't very good in that game against Kansas City, and they lost. Josh has to be better in those moments. Yeah, he's going to get another opportunity. 1-2 playoff games, was up there as an MVP candidate. In many years would have won it. But I think this year, when he's that guy, this team can win it all. There's no doubt. And we're not the only ones who think it. Everybody around the league believes Allen can take that step this year. This is the difference. Josh Allen can be the one thing Jim Kelly was never able to do, and that's win the Super Bowl. 4 times in a row, incredible. But winning those games is the ultimate goal. And I think certainly Josh Allen has it in him. He needs some things to go his way. But I think after the experiences that he's had, if he takes that smaller but incredibly important step in the playoffs, I think this team can have a parade and win a Super Bowl. There's a lot still to be done, certainly in a 17-game season. There'll be some ups and downs, but this team is right there, and they have a shot. Thanks for being with us here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We've got other great stuff coming up. A big story on Trey White's going to be released soon that Dan Fates did, looking back at Trey's history before he got to college, before, certainly he got to the NFL. Jenna Cottrell's working on stories to preview what's going to happen with the Bills and the Steelers this week. And we've got our show, all three of us on live Thursday nights, 7 o'clock. It's Buffalo Plus Live. Be with us every Thursday night as we preview the game and make our predictions on the game and on the season this year. So make sure you're there for that. And certainly, again, we ask you to subscribe, like, and comment. We love the comments. We like you. We consider you a big part of this Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, and we want you to be with us. That's going to do it for this time. I'm Mike Catalana. Enjoy the Bills season as it gets going. Plenty of content here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.